Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel Chaotic Chintan. Today we will be diving into the world of astrology and all these fantastic claims that are made by these self-proclaimed astrologers. Recently, I stumbled upon this video that left me absolutely shocked. This astrologer claimed not only to predict the next Prime Minister of India but also the very last. That's right folks, the last Prime Minister of an entire nation and its fate is already written among the stars.
भारत का जो प्रधानमंत्री होगा, आखिरी प्रधानमंत्री, वो भगवा धारण करेगा और उसका जो कुर्ता होगा घुटने तक होगा। काशीनाथ मिश्र जी ने कहा है नरेंद्र मोदी, नरेंद्र नाम का आदमी जो होगा वो आखिरी प्रधानमंत्री होगा।
Now take a look at this next one.
कोई शनि को लेके बैठा है, कोई राहु को लेके बैठा है, कोई केतु को लेके बैठा है, कोई तेनु को लेके बैठा है। मैं कहता हूँ शनि नाम का कोई भी ग्रह यदि किसी भी तरह का अशुभ करता हो तो मुझ पर चढ़ा के दिखाओ।
Looks like Baba Ramdev doesn't really believe in astrology. Now what about changing your predestined future? Is it possible?
एस्ट्रोलॉजी से कर्मों को पढ़ा जा सकता है, लेकिन एस्ट्रोलॉजी से कर्मों को चेंज नहीं है। जो पंडित जी खुद 500 और 1000 रुपए लेकर के अपनी जन्मपत्री निकाल रहे हैं, अगर वो कर्मा चेंज कर सकता है, खुद का कर्मा चेंज करता है ना।
So if everything is already written and predestined, why are we even trying here?
क्या मुकेश अंबानी जी की कुंडली के अंदर शनि नहीं है? क्या ऋतिक रोशन की कुंडली में शनि नहीं है? शाहरुख खान की कुंडली में शनि नहीं है? पर उनको वो चीज क्यों हार्म नहीं कर रही? वो उसके मुताबिक शायद कहीं ना कहीं वैसा ही कर्म कर रहे हैं और जब वो विपरीत जाने लगते हैं उनको भी हार्म करती है।
So many conflicting opinions. Is the fate of entire nations already decided? If that's the case, are you really in charge of your own life or has everything already been decided for you? So what is astrology? Let's find out. There are many different types of astrology around the world, but today we are specifically talking about Indian astrology or what many people call Vedic astrology. Indian astrology recognizes 9 grahas, 12 rashis and 27 nakshatras. The 9 grahas of astrology are perceived celestial bodies in the visible sky. This includes the sun or Surya, moon or Chandra, Mars or Mangala, Mercury or Buddha, Jupiter or Brihaspati, Venus or Shukra, Saturn or Shani, and the 2 lunar nodes Rahu and Ketu. Many people believe that the position of these grahas in the sky at the time of your birth influences your personality and your activities in life. The visible sky is split into either 12 rashis or 27 nakshatras, and your kundli or horoscope is a record of the apparent position of these planets with respect to these 12 rashis or 27 nakshatras in the visible sky. Let us now look at some real life consequences of extrapolating these beliefs to major global events. There are many astrologers who believe that they could predict the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. An astrologer, Acharya Ramachandra, prophesied specific dates for the pandemic. He claimed that the effects of the pandemic would wear off by 14th May 2020 and that a cure could be found between 14th May and 27 June 2020. He also claimed that the pandemic would end by September 2020. None of these events actually occurred on those dates. And then there was another famous astrologer, Narasimha Rao, who predicted that the pandemic would end by September 2021. Yet another thing that did not occur. Here is another example. Astrologer Suresh Koshal and his horoscope for India, the entire country of 1.4 billion people. In astrology, Cancer rules lungs and chest cavity. Therefore, COVID-19 has it in its worst form. In India's horoscope, Moon is extremely weak, and the country is also passing through the worst period of Saturn from December 11th, 2019 till July 7th, 2021. This is responsible for the outbreak of COVID-19 and also the period when India is worst hit by it. Another thing that did not turn out to be true. While the COVID-19 pandemic was deadly and India was terribly affected by it, the pandemic affected the entire world, hence the name pandemic. What actually happened is this. The WHO announced that COVID-19 was no longer an international public health emergency on 5th May 2023, a full 2 years after the latest prediction of the pandemic's end. If you thought that such things happened only due to major international events, think again. At the end of the previous millennium, the year 2000, better known as Y2K, astrologers made several fantastic predictions, such as global catastrophes, the Y2K bug that would bring the entire world down, and how computers would break everything. The consequence of one such prediction in Gujarat, India, was that an entire seaside village in Gujarat panicked due to the prediction of a catastrophe and vacated their homes. The catastrophe did not really occur, but unfortunately their houses were burgled. It seems like the belief in astrology is very deep-seated in Indian culture. So where did all this originate and how long has this been around for? Let's find out. Our story begins with the Rig Veda, one of the oldest scriptures in the world, written around 1500 BCE to 1000 BCE. It contains one of the earliest references to an eclipse-causing demon. About 200 to 700 years later, which would be 800 to 500 BCE, the Chandogya Upanishad references Rahu and Ketu as eclipse-causing demons. Another 200 years after this, so 350 BCE to 300 BCE, this is the period when Alexander, the Macedonian conqueror, started making his forays into the Indian subcontinent. And this period marks a significant cultural exchange between India and Western countries. Shortly after this, that is 250 BCE to 50 CE, the Jaimini Sutra, which is the earliest Indian text on astrology, was written. Amazingly, copies of this palm leaf manuscript are still being preserved in the Government Oriental Manuscript Library in Chennai as of today. Now, this period of the Jaimini Sutra being written also overlaps with just about the period where the Indo-Greek kingdom or the Yavana kingdom flourished in the Indian subcontinent. This period saw a fusion of Greek and Indian astronomical knowledge and also influences of Indian astrology. It is very interesting to note that the predictive aspect of Indian astrology originated from this text Jaimini Sutra during this period of extensive cultural exchange between India and the West. A good 250 years later, so by 250 CE, the Puranas began to take shape, which are stories with mythological narratives adding to the astrological knowledge of the time. The next significant scriptures to be written were between 400 to 500 CE. These were the Panchasiddhantas written by Varahamihira. 2 of the 5 Panchasiddhantas are interestingly commentaries on Greek and Roman treatises, which are purely based on their astronomy. Of the 5 Siddhantas, the Surya Siddhanta was proclaimed by Varahamihira as the most accurate of them all, and it contains accurate calculations related to the sun's movement and relative position. The 7-day calendrical system was also introduced around the same time, refining the way rituals were planned and these calculations were done. Almost 2000 years into Indian astrology's research and scriptures being written, we see the first references to the Navagrahas around 500 CE, which are the planetary deities. And it is another 100 years after this that the earliest Navagraha temples were built in India. As you can see, the Vedas tried to make explanations of eclipses and eclipse-causing demons without really referencing astrology. Indian astronomers made very accurate calculations and predictions of the movement of visible celestial objects across the sky. Eventually, as people started interacting with other cultures, such as Greek and Roman astrology, the concepts of horoscopes came up. So the next time you hear someone referencing Vedic astrology, remember that no such thing actually existed. While it's very fascinating to explore these ancient texts and their methods, it's important to remember that modern science has given us much more accurate tools of understanding the universe. Let us use these tools to understand how planets work, how gravity works, and how none of this has any influence on you or your life. Basically, the universe doesn't care how many followers you have on Instagram.
In all fairness to the idea that the universe affects us, just consider what it was like in the pre-scientific era. There, you got your farm out back, and when the stars align in a particular way, the crops bloom. And by the way, all of this stuff moves around you, all right? It rises for you, it sets for you. So the notion that the universe cares for us, it runs deep. Do you realize the brightest star in the night sky, it's called Sirius? It would rise just before the sun 5,000 years ago. And it happened to do that at the time of year when the Nile flooded enabling the ancient Egyptians to irrigate their lands and their fields. And so you say, there it is. This caused the rise of the Nile. So you can get a correspondence, a correlation, but miss the cause and effect of it. And so that's how we went for thousands of years.
So the next time someone tells you your fate is written in the stars, just remember, the power to increase those Insta followers is all in your hands. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can come back with more videos about understanding the chaos around us.